If you liked what you just saw on the screen, here's the simplest method I've been using since many years now to create such epic time lapses. So before actually creating a time lapse, we must understand what exactly time lapse means. Well, as the word suggests, it's the passage of time. We are showing a very long passage of time in a very short span of time. So suppose if you want to show the passage of clouds or the motion of the Milky Way across the night sky, or a scene of a very busy junction where lakhs of people are crossing in a very short span of time, we use this time-lapse technique. Well, time lapses are mostly used where the scene is mostly static, but there is some motion which we want to capture. So we use this technique to portray the sense of motion or grandeur. Since time-lapse is essentially a video, we need minimum 24 frames per second for the motion to feel natural. So now with this information, we can actually back calculate on how many frames do we exactly need to shoot. So suppose now we want to make a 10-second time lapse. So it's very simple. We are at 24 frames per second. So 24 into 10, which means we need at least 240 frames or 240 photos to get a 10-second time lapse at 24 frames per second. So suppose we want to shoot a 10-second time lapse and we have only 1 hour with us. So to get 240 frames, we would need to shoot at a shutter speed of 15 seconds because it's basic maths, and as you can see on the screen, we cannot go any higher than 15 seconds. If we shoot at 30 seconds, we'll only get a 5-second time lapse because our frames will drop drastically in the same amount of time. So my first recommendation to everyone is to shoot between 15 to 20 seconds so that you can get a good 8 to 10 second time lapse in about 1 hour. And if you have more time with you, and if you want to show a longer passage of time, well, then you can shoot at maybe 25 to 30 seconds, but I don't recommend going anywhere above 20 seconds. Now that we know what a time lapse is and how many frames do we exactly require, we can come to the planning part. And before the planning part, I will give you 2 or 3 very important pro tips. For shooting time lapses, you need the group size to be small because in a bigger group, what happens is there are many stray torch lights and stray lights which will come into your frame, and it's difficult to control a large group for 1 hour or 2 hours. So it's good if you shoot it in a smaller group. And after setting the camera, you should try to move a bit further from the camera so that there is no stray torch light or you don't exactly come in the frame, because even a single stray light will spoil the experience of the time lapse. Now coming to the camera setting part, we have earlier calculated in the video what's the shutter speed we require. So every camera has every modern mirrorless camera has a built-in interval meter in it, and we need to use that. You don't need any remotes or any app for that. And the most important setting is that we don't require any gap between 2 frames. A maximum gap between 2 frames can be 2 seconds. We should not go over that. 2 seconds is a good enough time for the camera to write the raw file onto your memory card. So we should not keep the interval between 2 frames at more than 2 seconds. And setting up the interval meter is different for every camera, and you could Google on how to use the interval meter for your specific camera, as the video will be too long if I get into detail of that. And one thing which you really need to make sure is that turn off long exposure noise reduction in your camera. Some cameras have it by different name, but you need to find it for your specific model and turn it off. Most cameras have that off by default, but some cameras I have used have had them on by default, so you need to actually turn them off. Remember to shoot in RAW because we need the white balance of all the frames to be same. If you shoot in JPEG, it will be difficult to correct in post, so shoot in RAW. And you need to make sure that the camera is very stable and on a tripod or on a very stable surface, and you need to show patience and do not touch the camera for the duration of the time lapse. So another pro tip which you won't find anywhere on the internet is that compensate for the movement of the Milky Way across your frame. Start from such a place that the Milky Way comes into the frame, does not go out of the frame. Now coming on to the last part, which is the editing part. We'll be using only two software here. One is Lightroom and Photoshop, and I find this combination to be the most efficient and quickest. The first step is actually importing all the images to Lightroom. So you can see here I have imported all my images to Lightroom, and this was shot in Leh Ladakh last year. And the specs of this photo are this was shot at ISO 3200 at 11 mm f2.8, and I actually shot this at 30 seconds, though I have told earlier in the video don't shoot at 30 seconds, but I actually shot this at 30 seconds. And we have loaded all the videos in the timeline in Lightroom over here. So this is the unedited image. There is no edits applied, as you can see here. So what do we need to do exactly is get all the images to look the same. We need the same exact white balance and exposure so that there is no jump in between any frames in time-lapse, or it will look very bad. So I've edited a sample photo here, and this is how this was the before and this is the after part, and I have done only basic edits. I've increased the exposure, adjusted the white balance, tint, and this is all very subjective because there is no right or wrong way to edit any photo. It's based on what looks good to you, and you edit accordingly. But the only thing to remember is that all photos should have the same edit. You cannot edit one photo in one way and the other photo in another way. You have to apply the same settings to all the photo. So what we'll exactly do here is edit the first photo and then select the last photo of our time lapse and shift select, and we can see here there's a sync option. When we click the sync option, it will tell us which all settings we need to sync. So I select all the setting. If you have done any masking in your edit, then you also need to select this masking feature. If you have cropped or done anything, you need to select this transform feature, crop feature over here, and leave all this on and just press synchronize. This process will take a lot of time because if you have used any AI for noise reduction and all, it will take a while.
A few moments later.
Now that we have synced all our images, we need to export this in JPEG format, and ideally you should create a new folder while exporting all your images. So as you can see, I have exported all my images into a single folder in JPEG format, and I have about 176 frames. Due to some error on my part, a few photos did not get synced, so I'll just ignore the last 10 frames. As you can see on the screen, I'll be using 176 frames. So at 24 frames per second, I should get a 7 to an 8 second video. So next we will load Photoshop. Well, hardly no one uses Photoshop for making time lapse, but it's the easiest tool and it's literally a one-click process. So you open Photoshop. So now with Photoshop open, I will go in File and Open. I will select my folder which I have created, and the important point to note over here is just click on the first image, and there is a option down here known as image sequence. Now click this image sequence and just open. Only click the first image and click image sequence and click open. Now it will immediately ask you at what frames per second you want the video to. So as I said earlier in the video, we leave it at 24 frames per second and just click OK. Now Photoshop will automatically go into the video mode or timeline mode, and it will take a bit of time to load all the photos. And it has come into the video mode automatically. We do not need to do any settings in Photoshop because we have already done all the color correction and everything in Lightroom. So what we need to do over here is go to File, Export and Render Video. It will give an option of where to save the image time lapse, and we set it at H264 preset, high quality, custom, and this is the maximum resolution I think Photoshop can export. This is more than 4K, so it's more than enough. You can crop later in any video editing software if you want to. Leave this at 24 frames per second and select all frames because we have already selected our frames which we need for the time lapse. So do it at all frames and just click render. I have already exported this video, so I'll just cancel this and directly show you the end result. So yeah, this was all the steps which are required to create a time lapse from scratch, and do let me know in the comments if you want some more advanced tips for creating time lapse, like with sliders and creating a holy grail of time lapse, which essentially means shooting a time lapse from sunset to sunrise, which is a very difficult and time consuming process. But you need some more software for that which can control the exposure over time for the camera, and there are many softwares for that. So if you want and there is enough demand, I will actually create a video for that also. So I hope you liked this video and found this useful, and if you create any epic time lapses, or if this video has helped you in any way, please do tag me on social media and other channels. Thank you.